Hey, my name's Sarah. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to talk to you about something that's been a big part of my life for many, many years. I am a former shopaholic. I had a shopping addiction from my early 20s, I would say, probably through to my early to mid 30s. And I have, as a result, had lots of issues with my spending and credit card debt that I've racked up. I've had to take out personal loans to cover my shopping. And it just got to the point where I had to ask myself, what is the purpose of this? Why are you doing this? Where does this stem from? And I think for me, it comes from growing up in a household where we didn't have very much money, and the money that we did have was sporadic. My parents ran their own businesses, and so we would almost go from feast to famine, where we had no money some months, and I literally mean no money for food or anything. And then we'd have other months where we had, or at least in my opinion, it looked like we had much more money. I didn't really understand how to budget. I was never taught that by my parents. I fortunately was taught by my grandma about budgeting and saving and the importance of living within your means. And she was a really good role model for me around that subject. So I kind of got that from her, but I didn't really get that from my parents. So I definitely grew up with a little bit of a sort of scarcity mindset and not really managing my money well in my early 20s and 30s. I was addicted to shopping. And that was kind of like a pastime for me. It was kind of like a hobby. I would literally spend hours just scrolling through sites like ASOS, Topshop, at the time. This shows my age. Miss Selfridge, River Island, all sorts of shops that I would just look at. Zara, Mango, H&M, Selfridges, Net-a-Porter, and I would just endlessly scroll and I would end up inevitably buying something. My addiction was so bad that I had wardrobes full of unworn clothes with the tags still on them, unworn shoes, and unused makeup and sort of beauty products, hair care products. I had jewelry that I never wore. I was buying so much that it was just a ridiculous the amount I was spending. I mean thousands, and I'm probably sure if I was to calculate it over the decades, I've probably spent hundreds of thousands of pounds on clothes and makeup and shoes and beauty care and handbags that I don't even own anymore. Those things are not even in my wardrobe currently. And I spent a lot of my sort of mid to late 30s decluttering and reducing my wardrobe dramatically, removing a lot of the clutter from my life. I wanted a much more minimalist lifestyle. And this channel is about personal finance, it's about budgeting, it's about my late bloom to wealth journey, and it's also about my attempts to be a far more mindful consumer, not overspend, to live within my means, and to budget effectively. But today's video is all about the things that I no longer buy that have saved me thousands. So if you are like me and you are a reformed or former shopaholic, let me know in the comments. What tips and tricks have you used to curb your spending? Or even if you are a current shopaholic and you consider yourself to have a shopping addiction, hopefully these tips will allow you to start thinking a little bit more about what you're spending and why you're buying these things, and whether or not you could cut some of these things from your spending as well. And I guarantee you it will save you thousands. So here are my 20 things that I no longer buy that have saved me thousands. So the first thing I no longer do is I no longer do any sort of beauty treatments, apart from one, which I will tell you about in a second. I don't get my lashes done. I don't get my nails done. I don't get any brows done. I don't get um, anything like hair extensions or filler. I basically cut all of that out of my spending. And I started doing this a few years ago. This is not recent. I used to have hair extensions, lash extensions, brows threaded, or waxed. I used to have manicures and pedicures fairly regularly. Also have had some filler, and I have cut all of that out now where I want to grow my lashes and my eyebrows. And so I don't have lash extensions. I don't have any sort of LVL or lash lifts or anything like that. I don't pluck my eyebrows or really do anything to them. I just use some sort of brow product when I want them to look, as nice as possible. And I just use mascara. I don't do anything to my nails any longer. I just keep them natural. And it's the same with my toenails. I occasionally will paint my toenails at home if I'm going somewhere where I'm going to be wearing sandals, but essentially I don't go to the salon for any of these things anymore. I get my hair cut twice a year at my hairdressers, and I literally have a trim. They like take this much off. I've got quite long hair and they just take this much off. I do all of my beauty treatments at home if and when I need them, and I prefer a much more natural approach to beauty. The one thing I do, still do, which I will not be giving up anytime soon, is Botox. I make sure that I budget for that. So I usually 1 or 2 appointments a year, and every 6 months, something like that, I will get my Botox topped up. But that's it. I don't spend money on any other beauty care or any other salon visits. Number 2, I no longer buy multiples of any product. I used to do this a lot. I used to buy 3 or 4 mascaras, or if I liked a particular pair of shoes, I would buy 2 of those pairs of shoes for some reason. I would buy 2 of the exact same shoe and just keep one in my wardrobe just in case. And inevitably, that shoe or that dress or whatever it was would go out of style, and I never kind of reached for it because I would just wear the pair that I had. So I don't buy multiples. I will now buy a single product or item. I will use that item till it's either empty if it's a makeup or, skincare item or a perfume. And then I'll buy either that product again if I really like it, or I'm then free to try a different product, which is the great thing about something like Project Pan, which I'm currently doing, where you use up everything that you have before you purchase another item. I don't go to the supermarket and buy 2 or 3 bottles of dishwasher detergent or laundry detergent. I will just buy one and I will wait till that's finished, and then I'll buy the next one as I need it. I used to hoard things like toothpaste and, yeah, just crazy stuff like skincare. I would have 3 or 4 night moisturizers. I could only ever use one at a time, and they expire. So it was kind of pointless, but not buying things in multiples really does save me money. Number 3 is supplements. I used to spend so much money on supplements. I would buy hair, skin, and nail supplements. I would buy vitamins, multivitamins, anything that I thought would make me look more beautiful or feel better. I was often chasing feeling better. And I think when you're in your 20s and your 30s and you're often sort of in this hamster wheel of doing your job 9 to 5, trying to have a social life, I was a sports person, so trying to play sport as well and train and be at the gym, you can't do everything. And so inevitably you are going to have times where you don't feel great, or you don't feel as energized, or your skin and your hair doesn't look as good as you probably would like it to. So I was sucked into believing that if I drank these greens as part of my sort of daily routine, like powder that you can get that's got like vegetables and things in it, or if I took these multivitamins, or if I took these skin vitamins, if I took those, I would feel and look better. That didn't actually happen. I now only use one supplement. I take a collagen supplement every day. I just stir it into my cup of coffee in the morning, and that's it. And I buy that, the jar that I buy, I literally buy once every 3 months. It lasts so long. And so I've really cut down on what I save on supplements. I don't use anything else, and I prefer to take a food first approach. So I now try and just eat lots of fruit and vegetables, eat a healthy and balanced diet, so that I'm not feeling yucky or that I'm feel like my body's craving something. And if I do, I'll just go to the doctors and get my blood work done. And then I would take their recommendations for any supplements or vitamins that I needed. Number four, I no longer buy trend pieces. I used to be the type of person who needed a new outfit for every occasion. I realize now that's linked to confidence, and it's linked to, I talked a little bit about how I grew up with kind of like this poverty or this scarcity mindset where I didn't know where money was coming from. And money was always a stressor when I was growing up. And we didn't have a lot of it at times. And then there'd be other times where we did have more money, but it was wasted. It wasn't invested in things that would be good for us. My parents just seemed to spend it on luxuries and things that we didn't really need rather than putting money aside and budgeting effectively. So I grew up wanting a lot of things that other people had and not being able to buy them. We just didn't have the money for them. And then when I did have my own money, when I had like adult money, when I got my first job, but even before that, to be honest, when I went to university and I got my student loan, I very much splurged. I treated that money like it was mine to spend on whatever I wanted to. I didn't budget for food, accommodation, books, seeing friends. I just went on a massive shopping spree. And as a result of that, I got into debt and used credit cards for the first time. And that is just a cycle that is very difficult to break. So, but it was all linked to me having the latest trends, the latest pair of trainers, the latest sportswear, the latest outfit for my night out. And I would do that regularly. So I no longer buy trend led pieces. I very much now focus on my own personal style, what fits my body shape, what looks good on me, what I feel comfortable in, and things that I can wear repeatedly, season after season, year after year, that are good quality. I would go through fashion magazines and be like, oh, Kim Kardashian's wearing this, I need to wear that. Or Nicole Scherzinger's wearing this, so I need to wear that. And I think actually on my 30th birthday, I wore a dress that Kim Kardashian had worn for New Year's Eve that year. It wasn't the exact dress, obviously. It was, I think I'd got mine from House of CB, but it was a copy of the dress that Kim K wore. And I just felt like I had to have that. And I sort of obsessed about getting that dress because it was like a trend item of the time. So I just don't do that anymore. I buy basics, I buy things that fit my body shape because I used to buy a lot of things that didn't even look good on me. I used to buy things that looked good on other people, that had a completely different body shape to me or a body type. And I used to force myself into things that were either too small or just ill fitting or just didn't suit me. There are just so many things I think of that just didn't look good on me. But because they were trendy, I absolutely had to get them. And I just don't do that anymore. Number five, I no longer purchase clothes for my fantasy life. And you may be thinking, what is a fantasy life? Well, I'm sure we've all done this, but I used to be a sucker for going shopping because shopping was one of my hobbies, right? Shopping was something I did for enjoyment. I no longer do that. I used to buy things for the cocktail party that I might go to in the future, or I would see a dress and be like, that would be a lovely dress for the races, or that would be a really nice dress if I went to a black tie event, or those pair of shoes would go amazing with this if I was going to a dinner. And I was not living that life. I was never going to that black tie event or to the races or to the cocktail party that I was buying these things for. But in my mind, I was thinking, oh, well, if I buy this, then maybe I will go to those things because I just don't go to them now because I don't have things to wear. But yeah, completely crazy to do that. But I definitely did it. I also would buy things when I was younger that did not fit me. I would deliberately buy the wrong size. I would buy a smaller size and I would tell myself that I would wear this when I was thinner. And I never got thinner. I was athletic. That's my body type. I'm fairly tall. I'm 5'9". And yeah, certain things look good on me, other things don't. But I would buy things that were completely two, maybe three dress sizes down because I saw other girls wearing them that had a different body shape to me. And I would convince myself that I would lose the 2 stone that I needed to be able to wear this item. And it would just sit in my wardrobe. It was a complete waste of money. So I no longer buy things for my fantasy life. Number 6 is decorative homeware. I have the same Christmas decorations that I've had for years. I don't buy new decor for my home unless something is broken or it needs to be replaced or it's got holes in it. I want my home to feel cozy. So I used to go through a phase of buying cushions, throws, and just little things that you could put around the house. Candles was a big one, but I don't buy any of that anymore. I also used to buy things for Halloween or for Easter or for, whatever holiday I could buy something for, I would, or for seasons. I see a lot of creators, a lot of content creators decorating their house differently by season. To me, at the time when I was influenced to buy these things, I thought that was what I needed to do. But now I don't. I literally will not buy anything for my home unless it has a specific purpose or I need it because something else in my home is no longer working or broken. I don't decorate my home by season. I put my Christmas decorations up every year, but they're the same ones we literally bring out year on year. And that has saved me thousands. Number 7, I don't buy branded cleaning products. So things like laundry detergent, dishwasher tablets, surface cleaners, bathroom cleaners, shower cleaners, floor cleaners. I just don't buy that from big brands. So I now go to my local supermarket and I buy fragrance-free products that are own brand, or I buy products that are made with essential oils because I don't really like heavy perfumes or things like that in my home. So by doing that, I've saved so much money because those products are always cheaper. They don't have a heavy fragrance and they're just much nicer to use in my home. So number 8 is alcohol. I don't drink. So for me, cutting out alcohol has saved me so much money. It's literally unbelievable. I used to drink and my drinking was more sort of social. I never drank really at home, after work, or if I was at home for the weekend. I really drank to socialize and to, if I was going out for a meal with friends, I would have a glass of wine or champagne or something or a cocktail. Or if I was on a night out with friends, I would drink. But it was around 2020. So I think when we had just before the pandemic, I decided that I was going to stop drinking completely. And so I haven't drunk in that time. And yeah, I don't miss it. I used to have terrible hangovers and I used to get quite anxious the next day after I had been out. So yeah, drinking definitely didn't work for me as I got older. And I just found that I don't miss it. I don't particularly like the taste of alcohol. I don't like how it makes you feel. And, nowadays a bottle of wine, I don't even know what that is. But my husband, he's actually doing a dry year at the moment. So he's not drinking currently. But usually when we would go out, he would have sort of a bottle of wine to himself or a couple of cocktails or glasses of wine. And our bill at the end of the night would be like £100 more than it is now because neither of us are drinking. So cutting out alcohol has saved us so much money. Number 9, I don't buy anything just because it's aesthetic or aesthetically pleasing. You'll see a lot of content creators selling you the dream and looking at their home, looking at their home office, looking at their handbags and what's in their handbags, and everything matches, everything looks great, everything's the same shade of neutral or pink or pastel. I just don't buy things like that. I'm not influenced to buy those things anymore. They don't add any value to my life, and I don't really care if things match. I used to care very much. I used to want my phone case to match my laptop case, which matched my handbag, which matched my stationery. Yeah, I don't really care about things being aesthetically pleasing anymore. I don't feel the need to have everything that matches or that looks good. I just like things to be comfortable and useful. So I don't buy anything that is just for the aesthetics. Number 10, I no longer buy notebooks, stationery, pens, all of that kind of stuff. I used to love buying those things. I would buy multiple journals and never write in them. I would buy multiple notebooks because I thought they were the right color or they matched something else that was in my home. And nowadays, I get journals or notebooks given to me at events that I go to, so I use those. I pick up pens wherever I go. If I go to a hotel, I'll take the free pen. I recently went to CrimeCon and my cousin and I just not stole because they were free, but just like swept up so many pens and various things. Number 11 is books. I love reading. I love listening to audiobooks. I have a Kindle, and it's a big part of my relaxation to be able to read books and really immerse myself in a different world. I love that. And I have done since a very young age. But I have so many books. It is unbelievable. So, what I have done recently, and this is something I've only done very recently, I've joined my local library so that I can borrow books rather than purchase them. Because, if I'm buying maybe 3 or 5 books a year, that can be anywhere from like £50 to £100. So instead of buying books, I now will only have my Audible subscription, which gives me 1 free credit per month. And I think that costs me £8.99 per month. So I will use that credit, but I don't buy extra credits. I used to. I don't do that anymore. I'll either re-listen to a book that I've purchased previously, or I will wait till the next month comes to buy a new book on the Audible app. And similarly with my Kindle, I read a lot of free books that I get through my subscriptions. And yeah, I just don't buy physical books anymore. If I want to read a book, I go to my local library, and that has saved us lots of money. Number 12, I don't buy expensive or new cars. So this was a pretty big one. I grew up wanting to always drive a BMW or an Audi or a Mercedes because I thought that was what successful people did. And when you got a job and you were earning your own money, that you needed to buy a car that showed that you were successful. And I certainly did that. And I spent hundreds of pounds a month on car payment. Obviously, we all know that cars depreciate in value, they don't hold their value. So it is pretty pointless to buy a new car unless you have lots and lots of money and you don't care about that. But even then, I would say it's probably not that sensible. Something that I've started to think about recently when I've become more mindful about my budget and my spending, I have gone from driving a Range Rover Sport to a Fiat 500. I always had a Fiat 500 anyway. We had two cars. One was a Range Rover Sport, one was a Fiat 500. And we decided that we were going to sell the Range Rover Sport because we didn't really need two cars. And also, we had lost so much money just in a year or so of owning that car that we thought we bought it outright, so we paid cash for it. But we were in a position where we thought that cash would be so much better sat in our bank account earning us interest in a high yield savings account rather than it being sat on our drive. Yeah, we sold the Range Rover Sport and we kept our Fiat 500, and I love that car. I think it's cost effective, cheap to tax, cheap for fuel. Yeah, I just love it. And yeah, it was lovely driving around in a Range Rover, but it just wasn't worth it for us. We wanted to be able to have more freedom with our finances, so that money is working for us much better in our savings account rather than sat on the driveway. Number 13 is gym membership. I have not had a gym membership that I've paid for in I don't even know how many years. I used to get a free gym membership with work, but since I left my job, I don't have that anymore. And even when I did have it, I don't think I ever went to the gym the whole time that I worked for that company. So I don't find I use the gym. I don't particularly like going to the gym. I'm really picky with gyms. So, if I'm on holiday and I'm staying somewhere really nice and they've got an amazing gym, I will use that every day because I love to exercise. But my local gyms aren't that nice, and so I just don't want to pay money to go to somewhere that I don't really enjoy being. So I don't spend money on a gym membership. I work out at home and I found some great trainers on YouTube and I just follow their programs. We have invested in some weights and some mats and bands and things like that so we can do our home workouts, and we just love doing that. We don't spend money on a monthly gym membership. We can work out when we want. We don't have to motivate ourselves to go any further than our living room. And we've saved lots of money by doing that. Number 14 is pre-packed or processed food. To be able to buy the best produce that we can. That is an area of our budget where we have invested and we do spend money on our food shopping. We have cut it down considerably, but we do still want to be able to buy the best produce that we can. So we don't really buy processed foods. We don't buy like packet lasagnas or pizzas or microwave meals. And we also don't buy anything that's heavily processed. So we just don't buy that stuff, and we cook a lot at home. We make things from scratch. We just try and avoid, where possible, buying things that are sort of pre-made, because it costs more money and it might be more convenient, but actually it's not as good for you as cooking from scratch. So we just don't do that when we go to the supermarket, and it does save us money. Linked to that is number 15, which is pre-cut fruit or vegetables. I used to, when I was working in an office, particularly pick up sort of pre-packed fruit that I would take with me for my lunch. And we used to buy like diced onion and mushroom that we could just throw into recipes that we were cooking at home. But we realized that that was a lot more expensive than just buying an onion and cutting it up yourself, or buying a melon and cutting that up yourself. And actually, you get way more if you buy the fruit and vegetables whole than if you buy a small pack of melon or watermelon or mushrooms or whatever it is that has been pre-cut. So we just don't do it. We buy everything and we cut it ourselves. Number 16 is takeaways or fast food. We don't really enjoy takeaways. I certainly don't ever really enjoy them. Usually when they arrive, they're cold, they're full of salt and fat and sugar, and yeah, just not enjoyable. I would much rather eat out. So I'd rather go out for a meal, but we'd rather do that than have a takeaway. But the majority of the time, we just cook from home and we cook from scratch. So takeaways and fast food, not really something that we do anymore. And it does save us money because, Deliveroo, Uber Eats, all of that stuff, they charge you a delivery fee. They're charging you a premium because you're getting, fast food, and it's just not worth it for us. So we don't do that, and we save a lot of money by cooking at home. Number 17 is unused subscriptions. So this used to be something I didn't ever really track or care about, but since I've been budgeting monthly and really looking at our finances in detail, I have found that, like probably the majority of people, we had a number of unused subscriptions. So these are things like Netflix, Apple TV, Prime, Amazon, all sorts of subscriptions that you may have that you perhaps don't use or aren't giving you value for money. So we really curated our subscriptions. We sat down together and we were like, right, do we use this? How often? How much does it cost? Is it worth it? And we selected the few that we did really use and that really did sort of add value, or really we got enjoyment out of, and we kept those subscriptions and we pay monthly for those. But if we had subscriptions that we didn't even know what they were related to, or we hadn't used in a few months, we just got rid of them. And we sort of streamlined everything so that we didn't have anything that was an unused subscription. Because even if something's £1 or 99p and you're paying that every month, it all adds up. So check your subscriptions. If you don't use them, cancel them. And if you're signing up for subscription services and they've got like a month free trial or 3 months free, you need to make sure that if you do sign up, that you then go back in 3 months and you cancel your subscription, rather than letting that roll into, you paying for it then monthly. Number 18 is daily coffees. I used to have a latte a day or a cappuccino in the morning, a flat white in the afternoon. So yeah, I've spent a lot of money on coffees over the years. I love really good coffee. And it's £3, £4, £5 sometimes a cup now in the UK. So I just don't think it's worth it. What we tend to do now is we'll have a specific coffee budget, which we have every month, and that's for going out for coffee with friends, or if we're working outside of our home and we want to have a coffee while we're working, we will budget for that. But the majority of the coffee we drink now is at home. We've got a really nice coffee machine that we bought a few years ago, and we just use that. And it has saved us so much money because I was definitely mindlessly buying coffee, and I would often be in coffee rounds, particularly when I worked in an office, and I would offer to buy the first round, and then, you'd have your morning coffee, and then maybe you go for coffee after lunch. And you always have those people in the office, well, at least I did, where when it came to their round, they were nowhere to be seen or they would never pay. My coffee bills could be like 20 to 30 pounds a day. And that is ridiculous across a year. So we've cut out going out for daily coffee. We do it, very occasionally, and we drink the majority of our coffee at home. Number 19 is anything that I was influenced to buy or that I feel influenced to buy. So, as a former shopaholic, somebody who had a shopping addiction, I was often heavily influenced to buy a lot of the things that I ended up purchasing. And I just did that without really thinking about it. Now I no longer do that. I am really mindful about my shopping and my spending, and I budget, I do project pan. I'm trying to have a minimalist approach to my wardrobe. I want less things, not more. I have had to put some things in place like that to allow myself to be de-influenced. So I no longer follow fashion creators that I know are going to influence me to buy products or that sell a lot in their videos. I still do follow a couple of people that I just love their style, but I'm not influenced by them. I can now appreciate their style and I can think, oh, that looks beautiful on them, or that's a lovely coat, or that's an amazing pair of shoes. But I don't automatically click on the link and buy that thing. So now I just either don't follow content creators that are going to trigger me or make me feel like I want to purchase something or influence me to purchase something. I instead focus on creators that I can admire, but that I don't feel influenced by. And I focus on other things. I follow creators that talk about personal finance and investing and budgeting and saving money and minimalism and underconsumption, rather than people who talk about over consuming and are really just trying to get me to spend my money on things without thinking about it. And finally, number 20, I no longer buy the latest tech or technology. I have had my iPhone for 2 years now, I think. And before that, I had my iPhone for about 5 years. So I only had the new iPhone because my old one broke. And it was actually quite funny that my previous iPhone was so old that I would go into the shop and ask for accessories for it. Like I needed a new phone case. And the guy actually said, we don't make those phone cases anymore. Like your phone's really old. So I then realized, because I couldn't get the things I needed for it and the battery was sadly really going down really quickly, that I needed to get a new phone. So I did, but I don't envisage myself changing my phone until this phone is dying daily and that I can't get it to do the things I need. So I have an old iPad that I use. I had one that was my husband's iPad previously and it had a cracked screen. And yeah, I just used that till it didn't work anymore. And this iPad that I had now was a gift from my husband, an amazing gift that he bought me for Christmas last year. I use it every day. I love it, but I would not purchase that for myself. I would have just continued using his old cracked iPad, but unfortunately it broke. So I was grateful for him giving me that amazing gift of the new iPad. Um, but yeah, I have a laptop that I use for work, and I'm not really into tech. I've had a watch that I've used for many years now, for like 4 years, I think. So yeah, I don't buy the latest tech just because there's something new out. I just buy when something is broken, or if I can't get the use out of it that I used to. And that does save me money because I just don't feel the need to have the latest iPhone or the latest whatever. And I think that's just great marketing by Apple, the fact that they encourage us to want to purchase new phones every year. Phones last for years. You don't need a new one every year. But yeah, I don't purchase any new tech just because it's new. I make sure that I get good wear and good use out of the things that I already have. So there you have it, the 20 things that I no longer do or buy that have saved me thousands. Aside from saving me thousands, it's also allowed me to clear up my space. I've decluttered so many things. It's made my life far more simple. and I really enjoy that. So there's the finance side of it where I save a lot more money, but also it's less complicated when you don't have as much stuff. If you're on your own intentional spending journey, or if you're looking to declutter your life, save money, let me know in the comments which of these items you've given up or that you're considering giving up. And if you're like me and you're a former shopping addict, how you've managed to curb that. Or if you are a shopping addict and you have a shopping addiction, or you feel like you need some help to control that, then post a comment. I'm sure people will share their ideas and thoughts with you, but you can definitely do it. It is not easy. You just have to kind of retrain your brain. You have to stop following people that influence you. You have to make sure that you stick to a budget, that you're really intentional with the things that you purchase. Doesn't mean you can't enjoy things. It just means you'll have more quality things that last you a long time. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.